solely showcases the president insulting you repeatedly. Why did you choose that approach here?
If the president cannot keep my name out of his mouth, then who is it that would be better to make sure that they are in the U.S. Senate to hold him accountable? I am the one that he is afraid of. I am the one that the Republicans fear. They can say that they don't, but my governor cannot stop tweeting about me. And I know that that is out of fear, because honestly, if they really wanted me as the nominee, they would be quiet and just wait and hope to crush me. But they know my strength, and they know my ability to reach people that historically have not wanted to participate in politics or had just given up.
I really am profoundly honored to stand here today as your next mayor. We will lead a city that belongs to everyone. A city where seniors can stay, young people can build a future, immigrants feel.
Netflix agreed to acquire Warner Brothers for $83 billion, including debt, in one of the largest media tie-ups ever. But with Paramount making a hostile bid, will the deal get done? The agreement to unite a Silicon Valley upstart with one of Hollywood's most storied studios was carefully navigated by Netflix's management. Co-CEO Ted Sarandos even ventured to the White House in November to get Donald Trump's blessing for the deal. But then on Sunday, President Trump veered off script, saying that the Netflix-Warner Brothers combination does raise antitrust issues.
Ted is a fantastic man. I have a lot of respect for him, but it's a lot of market share. So we'll have to see what happens.
That suggests his regulators may oppose the combination of the world's dominant streaming platform and the Hollywood icon. Paramount, whose bid for Warner Brothers was rejected, is also trying to break up the Netflix deal with a hostile takeover. The reaction was immediate. On Polymarket, the prediction marketplace, the odds of Netflix closing this acquisition next year went from 60% before Trump's comments down to 23%. And when Paramount made its hostile bid, the odds fell even further to about 16%. Netflix still has to seek regulatory approval in Washington, and it remains to be seen whether the Justice Department or others will oppose the acquisition. Even then, Netflix could choose to fight for
The ads have begun. The 2026 battle for Congress and a waterfall of spending are underway.
North Carolina doesn't need another career politician.
John Husted supported the tariffs that are jacking up prices.
Life in Maine, the way it should be, is harder thanks to Janet Mills.
And all of that could be significantly affected by the nation's highest court. The case filed in 2022 by the Republican House and Senate campaign committees, as well as then Senate candidate J.D. Vance, sues the Federal Election Commission over current law. That law puts a $7,000 limit on how much individuals can give a candidate per cycle. But individuals can donate more than $1 million to political parties. So the law separates the two. Parties are limited in how much they can spend directly with the candidates. Those are called coordinated expenses. Republicans want to remove those limits and be able to send more money to candidates. Doing so would change decades of campaign law.
So all of these limits, all of these rules, they're all about preventing corruption.
Adav Nodi is the exec director of the Campaign Legal Center and a former lawyer at the FEC. He says these limits were put in place after the Nixon-Watergate scandal, which exposed large secret donations.
There was a widespread bipartisan understanding that while some amount of money is needed to run elections and campaigns, it is best if that be limited, that no undue amount of it come from any one source, and then it be fully disclosed to the public.
This century, the Supreme Court has overturned some limits, including in the Citizens United case, removing caps for donating to super PACs and ruling they violated free speech. That argument is central today.
If you're telling someone they can't pay any money to help broadcast their speech, that's the same thing as limiting their speech.
Carrie Severino is president of JCN, a conservative legal group which supports removing these limits. She also argues the limits create a convoluted system, parties and candidates with the same goals, but which can't work together.
We want Americans to have information about their candidates, and forcing that information to be incredibly costly by having all of these extra limits and tying the hands of the political parties who are trying to communicate with voters isn't a good way to do that.
But Democrats see other motives.
It's just that the Republican Party doesn't believe in campaign finance reform, and they don't want these particular limits in place.
Mark Elias is an elections attorney representing the Democratic Party before the Supreme Court. He sees corruption risk.
If the coordinated party spending limits go away, then now the money that is going into those committees in these hundreds of thousands of dollar checks or $1 million checks can now be spent on an unlimited basis to benefit a particular candidate. And that opens up a risk of quid pro quo corruption, bribery, that is exactly why the Supreme Court has upheld these kinds of base limits before.
In today's arguments, Justice Brett Kavanaugh questioned how the court should balance concerns about corruption versus political speech.
The combination of campaign finance laws and this court's decisions over the years have together reduced the power of political parties as compared to outside groups, with negative effects on our constitutional democracies. I'm also concerned, of course, about quid pro quo corruption and the circumvention concerns.
Justice Sonia Sotomayor and the court's liberal justices questioned if the case would lead to a steep, slippery slope.
Once we take off this coordinated expenditure limits, then what's left? What's left is nothing. No control whatsoever.
Justices will issue a decision in the case by next summer. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Lisa Desjardins.
I'm at the Omaha Steak Central Fulfillment Center. This is where, once all of their beef is processed and packaged, it gets put into big coolers that are sent out to consumers all over the country. The holidays are the company's biggest time of year. It says it does nearly 50% of its business in the last quarter. Mid-December, the company expects to be shipping out 90,000 coolers of beef every day. But beef has gotten really expensive. Prices are up nearly 15% this year, while overall food inflation is around 3%. Still, Omaha Steaks says demand is high. The company says it hasn't raised prices in the past few years, but it's beginning to reach a breaking point where it may have to. Cattle herds are at the lowest they've been in decades, and it's been really hard for farmers to rebuild the cattle supply because drought has been plaguing farmlands for the past few years. We took a deep dive into the beef industry and explored what all of this means for both producers and consumers. Check it out on CNBC.com or visit our YouTube channel.